Hey, 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 what's up, everybody? Another Thursday live stream in English directly from the HOFA studios. My name is Tim Segewitz, and we are streaming live today, like I said, from the HOFA studios. We have another cool topic for you guys, which is today trap music, producing and mix. Firstly, I want to say something about the historic, maybe a bit of the genre, because it's a subgenre from hip hop. Then we dive right into our DAWs, which will be today Ableton and FL Studio. Because today I brought a colleague of mine. His name is Daniel. Yeah, he's right there. Just introduce yourself real quick.
Yeah, so I'm Daniel. I'm producing music for about 4 years now, and I mainly produce in the genres of hip hop and R&B. And I really like trap. Trap is one of my favorite subgenres from hip hop, and so I've been mainly producing trap music for the past 1.5 years. So yeah.
Yeah, sounds great. So the fact that I brought him with me today is because our last stream actually only the main topic, because I'm a main producer in Ableton. He's actually a FL Studio guy. So all you guys out there who want to have questions or want to get answers for questions in the FL Studio, Daniel is the guy who can answer them better than me to you. Let's dive right into it. Firstly, I want to show you a real quick PowerPoint and tell you something about the trap genre. That's about, 10 minutes maximum. And right after that, we dive into our DAWs and show you some tricks and how you can actually produce trap music. So, first of all, we start obviously with the history. Like we said before, it's a subgenre of hip hop. With a bit of a slang from the southern states. It became more popular in the 90s through some song lyrics by the artists Outkast and Goody Mob. Like these two guys actually were in like different groups in America, and they used actually the word trap as a synonym to handle some stuff over there where you can share I don't want to say drugs or stuff like that, but they used this word actually as a code to meet up somewhere and then exchange some stuff. The genre itself gets more popular in 2003 because of the rapper T.I. He produced the album which was called Trap Music. And like in the PowerPoint, that was a pretty big milestone for the formation phase of the subgenre from hip hop. So this album was firstly signed to a label as, like I said, the trap genre type of thing. And it break through in America, and all these styles which Danielle and I show you later contain like lyrics or drum patterns or like hi-hat patterns based actually on this album. It's actually pretty cool that this genre went through there, because for me personally, I like it a lot. I'm very excited every time when I produce trap music myself, because it's such a lot of fun. The next point is actually in 2010, which was the mainstream breakthrough for trap music. The story behind that is actually that artists made in the years from 2000, I guess, maybe let's say 2010 to 2012 especially. They made remixes from I would say normal, like in a special type of thing, like normal rap music. They made remixes, but especially fitting for a festival. They made them in higher BPMs, way louder, way more bass, way more I would say dubstep stuff or electronic, like more synths or bass stuff like from electronic music. So this main thing from the EDM trap, what I say in the PowerPoint, was that these remixes contained original elements from the original tracks, but they made it faster. They used some synthesis in very various ways, or in many various ways, to form the genre EDM trap. I mean, it's not actually EDM trap, it's like trap with electronic vibes, I would say. So that was just the biggest thing why trap music went like viral since 2010. Even it would be played today. I mean, on the hugest festival in the world, like, I don't know, Ultra Music Festival, Tomorrowland, or stuff like that. They play EDM trap in front of, like, I don't know, 300,000 people the whole weekend. So I would say it's pretty mainstream when a DJ or a producer play this stuff like for 80 or 50,000 people. So yeah, it's pretty common today. That was actually the history part. Now we go over to the style futures of trap music. Like I said, trap music has mostly like these slow, I would say, rhythms not directly on a grid, which I'll show you later, some cool tricks in Ableton. What I say with a rather gloomy and aggressive atmosphere is like, it's more, maybe not gloomy, but a bit more dark, I would say, than the normal rap stuff which you hear out there. So trap is like more, like I said before, aggressive. These guys made it more aggressive between 210 and 212 with all these trap remixes for a festival. So yeah, gloomy and aggressive sounds fitting for this type of style future for trap music nowadays. One main focus style future is obviously the fast and rolling hi-hats, which contains every hip hop track nowadays. Especially in trap, there is also the iconic 808 from the Roland TR 808 drum sampler. So yeah, the 808s are a important, if not the most important, element in the whole track, because it's like the bass line in every track, I would say. So the 808 is the fundamental for everything, I would say, in trap. So in my opinion, like, it's only my opinion, but in my opinion, if you have the wrong 808 in a track, then actually the track doesn't work. So that's just my perspective, but yeah, in the past, when I go over my history of the beats or the trap tracks I made, when I produced them and I waited like 1 or 2 weeks, I know if the 808 was the right one or not. So yeah, that's pretty important actually for trap music nowadays, the 808. The 808 is especially like if you use a kick and the sine wave has a pretty long release. That's actually what an 808 is. So in the earlier days, they used a live kick drum and made a huge long tube behind the kick drum. So you hit like the kick drum once, and then it made in the end like boo, like all the frequencies were like doubled in this long tube behind the live kick. So that was actually the thing why the 808 was created back in the early days. Yeah, the next point, what I mean by screwing and chopping. Screwing and chopping is actually also a big part in not only in trap, but in the whole hip hop genre, because what I say in the last point, actually, it's pretty sample based nowadays. You can make melodies like everywhere on Korg synthesizers or a Complete 13 maybe. So you like screw and chop these melodies, what you actually play in on a piano, and you chop them up in samples, pitch them up, pitch them down, made them slower, faster, change the warp modes in Ableton, or you have literally in a DAW nowadays so much opportunities to like chop or screw a sample. It's like never ending, I would say. So that is one of the points which are pretty important in trap, because if you actually only have a sample for like 3 to 5 seconds, you can build a whole track out of this sample. Like if you have the cool drum samples and you have like a 4 or 6 second long sample, I mean, you can literally do a whole track out of these, like a little screw or a little chop out of an original track. So yeah, that is actually pretty important today. The next style features are the BPMs in trap music. It's mainly 60 to, I would say, 95 BPM. And the programming is actually in double time. Like later on, you see in my DAW and also in the DAW from Daniel that we produce trap mainly in like the double time of the BPMs, of the BPM numbers, which are in front. So I would say trap maybe starts from, I would say 115 to 120 if you play it in double time. And it goes on to maybe 160 even. 95 is actually pretty hard for double timing because that's pretty fast. But 95 also has a cool groove if you program the drum samples right. So that is the main focus for this special genre, actually. So the last point is, like I said before, today are way more dubstep and like electronic music type elements in trap tracks than in the past, because in these festivals you want actually the crowd to go crazy, sing along, and that is actually based on like this bridge type of thing. Which you actually know, if you use a break, then the energy of the track is pretty low. You use a build-up to get the crowd like a bit excited for the drop, and then you program a drop on there, which has, like I said, dubstep and electronic music type elements, which are actually big room type drops. With this example with the bridge to introduce a track in a break, get them to a build-up. The drop is like the releasing of the break and the energy which you created in the build-up. Then you have the drop, and then you go in another break, and that's actually the base of a whole, like, I would say EDM festival main stage, I would say. You have like a break, then you have like a chorus, and it's sometimes you can relax a bit in the break, sing along, put your energy out in the drop, and it goes on and on. That's actually what's the main focus today of these of the genre, actually, if you play it on a festival. On this topic or on this sheet, I show you some artists in this genre. By influencing, I mean the artists who are actually like brought the genre to bigger audiences. Yeah, you can read it by yourself, like GC, Gucci Mane, Yo Gotti, Rick Ross, Lil Wayne. I guess if you're in the hip-hop genre at home, you actually know some of them. The main hip-hop trap artists I mentioned there are actually more like artists from today, like 2 Chainz, 21 Savage, A$AP Ferg, Waka Flocka Flay. Metro Boomin is a huge producer, but he's also made tracks by himself. And I guess Lil Baby, you all know from like TikTok or somewhere else. And he's like a really big artist today. And the last section is the EDM trap guys, I would say. It's Bauer, Our Grime. Diplo is actually the main producer from Major Lazer. If you know Major Lazer, it's this bigger like band, I would say, where are 2 singers and Diplo. They also do like this Mombaton type tracks. What was actually pretty iconic for trap music was also Flostradamus in this section, because they made trap music also pretty huge and brought it to the like electronic music based audience. Obviously, Marshmello and Skrillex are huge today. Skrillex was in the earlier times maybe more like a dubstep guy, but he's also producing today stuff for I don't know, Ty Dolla $ign and all these big guys from today. Nightmare and Slander are actually buddies of mine from the US, and Yellow Claw are also trap music producers from the Netherlands. So from the top to Skrillex, they're all from the top to Slander, they're actually all Americans, and Yellow Claw are from Holland. So these are actually the biggest guys today, I would say, in trap music, especially Bauer and Ara Grime. So they are like the main focus producers nowadays for this genre, actually. So, and for the last sheet real quick, and then we're finished with the history and where trap came from. You can play this music on Spotify and Apple Music, obviously. The 2 main focus type things I would recommend to you is listen to the Trap Mojito. how does it called, playlist on Spotify. The Trap Mojito Spotify playlist is like, in my opinion, the way where trap music goes in the future. It's mostly pretty heavy stuff in there, but somewhere in between are in the sheet before is also stuff from Ty Dolla $ign, 21 Savage, and all these guys. But the main focus from Trap Mojito is like pretty hard beats with a cool vocal from a super cool artist and a heavy chorus. And cool melodies. So that is Trap Mojito actually focused on. And like I said on the sheet and on Apple Music, you can just type in trap, and there are actually every artist every artist listed. What I said, what you saw here on the last sheet, like there you see 2 Chainz, 21 Savage, Metro Boomin, Lil Baby, like all these guys from there. So, long talk. I think we are going to dive right into the DAW. Firstly, we jump a bit into Ableton, and then Daniel will show something from FL Studio, and we actually can answer any question what you type into also in the YouTube chat. That's also a pretty important point what I wanted to say. We are pretty interactive with you guys, so I have the chat on here. I also see the chat box, and you can send us any question you want. So just send it to the YouTube chat, and we go over some questions if you have one. But other than that, I will show you real quick this track of mine. I hopefully, once again, YouTube doesn't, like I would say, kill the stream, because it's actually an official release from mine. I don't say my artist name, that I don't want to advertise myself. But it's actually released, so we listen real quick to this track, and then I show you some tricks or cool stuff what you can do with drums, or to what I said before in the sheets with these slow rhythms, how you can create them in Ableton and stuff like that. But yeah, long talk, and now it's the first time you hear music, so enjoy. And after that, we talk about the track and drums.
And neither do I. Death comes for you. Yeah. Game over. Yeah. I will sharpen my axe with your neck. You shouldn't be here. Stone never forgets, and neither do I. Death comes for you. Yeah. Game over. Yeah. I have the finest weapons in all the land.
Yeah. like I said before, the genre is actually pretty crazy. Yeah, there are many synths from like dubstep or like electronic dance music. Yeah, first of all, I would show you some stuff what I made with the drums that we get more into the producing type stage. Later on, we go a little bit above the mixing stage, what I mixed and how do I mix my drums, and why did I use this or that plugin, or why made I this or that decision. Yeah, so as you see, actually, it's pretty standard, I would say, trap arrangement, I would say. So there we are, only with the drums. For this track, I actually didn't use a hi-hat. There were only like these claps. I have here a hi-hat loop, but it's actually turned off in this stage. But yeah, this is the main focus of the track and also the main rhythm. Yeah, on the top here we have a kick drum. Pretty simple actually. And here's also my first secret sauce plugin, which I don't know if I show this every stream I make, but yeah, for me it's definitely the best kick equalizing plugin out there, because it doesn't make the kick only in some frequencies louder because it's an analog EQ. It also makes the stuff a bit more warmer, I would say. As you see on the left here, you can set the analog mode on in and out. Here you can set in the frequencies, and I actually do every time boosting like 3 dB on 30 Hertz on every kick. It's like literally on every kick because yeah, it makes the kicks, in my opinion, way smoother. They are crunching better to the mix down. And if you see actually in this meter here, the kick is every time clipping. But what I also want to mention is if you use, like I did in this example, 32-bit samples you see here in Ableton. It's pretty small, but you see here it's 44.1 and 32-bit. You do not actually clip on the channel, so you see the kick drum is pretty far over 0, because this line here is 0 dB actually. When I turn the gain down, you see it, how much it actually clips. So there we are actually on 0, so it clips like 7 dB. But if you are actually on this track clipping and you set up the main volume right on the channel, you do it on the right here, and you do not clip here, your sample won't clip. That's like a big part what people don't understand in Ableton. You can clip with a sample here in the sampler, or I would say in the effects section here, but you don't actually clip on the channel. I mean, I could turn the sample to like, 20, you only see this, and then I use this here and do minus 34.5. It's the same loudness. Nearly the same loudness. Yeah, nearly the same loudness. And when I pull these two back, there we are actually, where's the sample? There it is. I only used one. Yeah, right, I only used one. That's not actually the whole sample. I grabbed only one sample and not the whole section, so yeah, you only would hear it for the first sample, I would say. But yeah, that was the tip for the Ableton, like effects section. You can clip with samples, especially they need to be 32-bit. That's pretty important. At 24-bit, I wouldn't recommend to go over the 0 line, especially here in the FX section. So yeah, I guess that's pretty important for all you guys out there who don't work with MIDI for the drums with the sampler, but throw the audio like I did here in Ableton right into the arrangement view. So yeah, that's pretty important that you guys actually know this, that you make technically everything right. So a lot of talking on the kick. The snare actually is in the intro, I would say, one snare. That's only this one. And in the drop there are layered actually 2 snares. It's this. Why did I do that? The second one is actually more of a snare with a tone. That's also pretty important, I would say, for trap. Sometimes you have like these straight snares who sound like this. I mean, it's like a snare maybe layered with a clap and with literally zero tone, I would say. But if we listen to this one, it obviously has a tone to it. So it's maybe when you cook and use some huge bottles, and when you use a fork and then you clap onto this huge bowl, that's maybe a little bit of type of sound what you get. Yeah, and this snare is actually for the tone, I would say, on this two snares. So this one is like the tone snare, I would say, and this is the main snare, and together it's like this. Yeah, I only use the compressor here from Ableton. It's a glue compressor to compress them a bit together with 3 to 4 dB gain reduction. Not that much, but it's a bit of a gluing together. That was actually the processing for the snare. What actually most of you guys want to know is how producers actually treat their 808s. This time it's also actually pretty easy and pretty standard. I literally used a 808, which is, I would say, pretty soft. But after it, I used Trash 2 from Isotope. Yeah, in my opinion, my favorite 808 plugin when it comes to making 808s grittier, heavier, literally making the 808 more shining. And also, like I said before in the PowerPoint, if you actually choose the wrong 808, Trash wouldn't help you also to get the 808 right. So the biggest thing is in here you have a multiband, so you can choose for like the deep frequencies like this here. Where's my 808 there? So there's only the stuff below 120, which you can actually use another algorithm for the stuff which is above 120 for this. So you can use different algorithms here to get this 808 like pretty gritty, throw noise on the 808 or stuff like that. So you have huge opportunities with this plugin actually to get a cool 808. And yeah, as you guys also see above 190, I also used some other algorithm which is tape saturation. And yeah, that's I hear it in my headphones, but I don't know if you hear that on YouTube out there. But it makes like a bit of a gritty noise below the 808. So it's actually, if you hear this stuff on a phone, on a Bluetooth speaker, or I don't know, on your, if you're on the sea chilling and if you hear it through your Bluetooth box, this is actually what you hear from the 808. So even a Bluetooth box cannot play stuff below, I would say, 150 hertz. And then you actually only hear stuff like this. So yeah, that's actually a cool thing, what I want to say to you guys, because it's pretty important. Nowadays, many people out there listen to tracks on Bluetooth devices or stuff like that. And then you need to choose an 808 where you can also listen to on a Bluetooth device. That's pretty important, actually. So yeah, I EQ'd a bit, and there's actually my sidechain. It's made with a Pro MB multiband compressor, and I did it with the trigger. Every time the kick here is hitting with a ghost note, then every time the compressor cuts down the low frequencies of the 808. So it's not actually the typical sidechain. When a kick comes in, the 808 gets completely down ducked, or I would say, sidechained. It's only when the kick hits, only the same frequencies where the 808 and the kick share together are slowed down. So the kick and the 808 never ever rumble in any of my tracks, because the Pro MB cuts down every low frequency from the 808 when the kick has the lower part. So sometimes if you cut out the completely 808 and the kick, you hear a little bit of a difference when the kick hits, like doom, and then you hear like vroom, the 808 comes in. But with this technique, you actually have the 808 playing from the beginning, but without the low frequencies. They play then when the kick frequency, the low frequencies from the kicks are gone, especially. So yeah, this is my go-to and main type of thing, how I sidechain actually. So you see every time when the ghost note here is hitting, and you also hear it a bit in the 808 when I turn on the low frequencies. You hear every time when the ghost note is hitting, the 808 gets deducted and the kick comes together. So I can also play it together with the kick like this. So it's never rumbling, or it's never corresponding to the low frequency of the 808. So yeah, in my opinion, like the cleanest sidechaining for kick and 808 and trap music. Then you don't even lose energy, which is pretty important in trap music. So yeah, that was kick, snare, and 808. What I said before here, I used some claps here to get like the track a bit going and see, okay, there's something to come. That's actually also, I would say, pretty standard. Not on the floor type of thing, but yeah, claps also like introduce some parts of the rhythm actually of trap music. And yeah, an easy loop here down below to get you a bit exciting. I get it a bit from left to right. And this also is a layer for percussions. It's just to have a bit of a noise in the background because it's actually pretty empty if you only use a kick, snare, and some hi-hats. So I would recommend this trick, or I would say it's not a trick, but to fill up a bit of the mix down when you produce trap, that you have some elements in the background which let the listener a bit of like shaking with the track and stuff like that. I mean, you can shake with kick, snare, and hi-hat, but it's pretty cool if you actually use some percussion loops behind them. So this is a bit like, yeah, there is something behind. And yeah, that's actually all the stuff to this point. What lastly point I wanted to show, then I give it up to Daniel that he can show some stuff, what he does in FL Studio. Like the rhythms I told you before are a bit like off the grid. You saw here in Ableton that mainly all my drums are actually on the grid. So you see they are every time on these lines here. So they are on the grid, but they don't feel like they are on the grid. And this is the main feature of Ableton with the delay function here at the top right corner. There's a little D. And this here is the delay section from a sample. So like you see, I throw the snare 14 milliseconds back, that it's not actually directly on the grid. So it's a bit like off the grid that you get a bit more of this like swung rhythm, I would say. It's not swung, but swing, as you guys know. So that it gets more swingy, I would say. But keep in mind, if you throw the snare too far behind, it's actually not that good, because the snare is mostly your type of sound that gets the rhythm. With a snare, you hear every time when the beat is on the grid, like, okay, there is the half, there is the half, there is the half. But if you actually turn it too far back, you can like play the other instruments accordingly to the snare. So I would recommend to get you guys some numbers from 6 milliseconds to maybe 35 is actually my go-to numbers here on the right, if you swing these drums off of the grid. But you hear, we can say that maybe we can do that a bit far off, as you hear. If you put this to 70 or 100, you hear it's pretty far off. 40 is a bit, literally really, really far off, but it's, in the range, I would say. And 6 or 0 is like mainly on the grid. So, I would go actually with 30 or 40. Or, maybe so. Yeah. For this type of track, 14 was actually the right number, I would say. So yeah, that is actually the in my opinion very important trick if you want to create a swing in Ableton, which you don't need to search something in the groove pool of Ableton. There is a groove pool, but in my opinion, that is the way easier way if you just make it to the grid and then just turn up or down the delay of the sample. So then you can vary a bit with the swing, which is actually pretty important. So yeah, that was actually the drum part of this track. And now I would say let's get us some stuff in FL Studio right here. And let's see. Yeah, Daniel, what you got for us today?
Today is a bit of a beat. Well, let's say a JPEG Mafia or Tyler the Creator type beat, like a very modern, a bit abstract
Nice.
type of hip hop beat. I'll just let it play and let's see.
That old car might be worth money. Call Victory Auto Wreckers at 630-860-2000 for a quote. Victory will tow no matter what condition your car is in. Victory tows 7 days a week. And you may get cash on the spot. Or save money by fixing up your car with used parts. Victory has 10 acres of used parts, starters, transmissions, batteries for all types of cars. Victory Auto Wreckers.
So that was it. I think you could already hear a lot of characteristics from the trap genre out of this beat. So I'll just say we'll dive right in and I'll tell you how I made this beat. Okay. So first of all, I grabbed this sample. Here, let's see if I manipulated it. I'll just stretch it back so you can see what it sounded like first before I sped it up. I think I've increased the speed on it. Yeah. So from there, I think I grabbed 2 parts. One of those was the one that sounded a bit bloomy and nice in the beginning. That was this one. And the other one that sounded quite mean from here. So I think I also pitched the sample and then pitched and sped it up to 151 BPM, which is like 75.5, but like double time, half time, I mean. Same thing as Tim already said in the presentation. So what I also did to add some ambience was to add a narrator in the intro, so the track sounds a bit more alive, has more detail, and the listener also has something to that grabs them right from the beginning. So I just grabbed a narrator from YouTube, from a commercial. It just sounds cool. I just like the voice, so I added it. And then for the drop, both end about the same time. And that's when the 808 comes in a very high register. You can hear the 808 is heavily distorted, which is pretty common for modern trap, especially in this type of sub-genre which we are in. Also a lot of slides. I can show you that in the MIDI sector. So we have a lot of slides here. Oh, those aren't even slides, those are just notes an octave above the main pattern. I've also chosen a smaller amount of velocity for those notes because those notes tend to be louder. That's just a general tip for 808s. You have to pick a smaller amount of velocity for the higher register notes because otherwise they will sound much louder than the ones in the lower register. Here's a small glide here, right there. So the note glides up from C7 to C8, and then it just repeats C8. That was it about the 808. I really like this 808. Let's see what sample I chose. Pure Filth. I think this one is even from a hyperpop kit I grabbed from Reddit. So not too common, this type of 808. Normally you would get this type of sound if you picked a normal sample and then added some distortion. But this one already had the distortion built in, so that's pretty nice. Another thing that you probably noticed while listening to this sample was that I pitched and chopped it a lot, so there's a lot of variation in the sample. So we've got this 9-bar loop here, 8-bar loop, and then I pitched it sometimes or chopped it. So this is what Tim meant when he said that those beats sometimes are chopped and screwed. Here I even added a little bit more complicated chop, where I took different chops from the same 8-bar loop and then added them together and shortened the distance in between them. So I think it's only a 4-bar loop now. Yeah. So I basically cut away 50% of the sample every time I chopped it. So it's only half as long and sounds a lot more full and faster. So then we'll take a look at the drums, which I think alongside the 808 are one of the best parts of this beat. So it's nothing too complicated. I'll take a look if I added the drum bus, but I don't think so. Not too much going on effect wise. I pretty much left everything as it is, besides soft clipper on the a soft clipper on the kick, which is a must-have for everyone using FL. Even though the older generation of producers doesn't like that a lot, but it really adds a lot of grittiness to the kick sample. Besides that, I think I stayed mostly on grid, but some of these samples have a bit of delay on them. Especially this hi-hat sounds off grid, even though I placed it on grid. And this snare also doesn't hit on one, which is nice. It gives the track a bit more bounce, and drums sound fuller in general. Let's just so drums again, and then one of the most important parts for trap music, as Tim already said, hi-hat rolls. I've added them separately from the two-step hi-hat I did here, because I didn't really think that it would fit to use that hi-hat sound as a hi-hat roll sound, so I've added this to the beat. Those are pretty fast, and I'm not quite sure, but I think I didn't care much for grid here. I just chopped them very shortly and then added them together. I just basically placed them by ear, and it ended up sounding pretty cool, I think. The sample is also, like the normal 8-bar loop, is very ambient. Has a lot of tension, so it was pretty easy to create tension and release it through chopping and pitching it, like here. Like there's, I'm creating tension by just pitching it down and taking out the drums. Then it comes back in again with the chop, which yeah, it's just nice to play a bit with chops and pitching and all of that stuff. I really like it. I also sometimes edit some drums before the one hits, just to have a better transition in between those 8-bar sections. I arranged my beat upon. So yeah, that's it. And on the intro, I added a bit of a transition in between the chill part of the sample and the one with the love, and the one that sounds a bit darker. So I did that through chopping again. And yeah, that's basically it. That's the beat. Yeah. So I'll give it back to Tim and see what he has to say about the beat or anything else to add.
In my early days, like 12 years ago, with FL 8 and 9. It looks the same. It's a pretty cool DAW actually, because what I prefer here is, like, I wanted actually to have the piano roll of FL Studio in Ableton, because it's, in my opinion, the best piano rolls out there. So yeah, I like FL Studio a lot, and as you see, he has like line 2 to line 14. And yeah, maybe there is a complete beat together. So as you see, it's pretty easy if you choose and have the right elements for a beat. It swings, it grooves. So yeah, as we also mentioned before, with the screwing and chopping, that's why I also wanted to have Daniel today here on, because I know he's chewing and chopping some of his stuff. And he knows that pretty good because, yeah, I did it also sometimes, but for me, mainly it's like playing around with also these short type of things and make even whole melodies out of it, throw it into a sampler. It's maybe the same approach, but he does it with samples, which is more like nowadays the way to go. So I'm maybe more, I would say, yeah, I'm not that old, but maybe it's the old type of way where you throw all this stuff into a sampler and play it with a piano. I mean, you can do both ways. It's pretty good to do both ways. And also for you guys out there to know that there are more ways and not even chop them up, but also throw them into a sampler. But yeah. Pretty cool track all in all. I like the beat a lot. And yeah, thank you for this one. And yeah, as you guys heard in the track I showed you before, where's my mouse actually? Oh, there it is. Oops, sorry. Now we go a bit over this part, I would say, for the last 10 minutes. I show you some mixing stuff I did on this track and also maybe real quick the mastering chain. That you guys can see what I did on the mixing part. Yeah, like I said, the equalizers of the kick, the compressor of the snare, we let them besides because we also mentioned that. Also the 808, a pretty important part. I actually wanted to show you a bit from the synths maybe, but they are actually printed out from as audio. So I did the whole processing actually on the synth itself. So there are actually, these are all shots made by myself in Serum and Vital, this new free synthesizer. Yeah, I made all these like chops in here, like this one, which is actually pretty hard. Or this one are layered percussions. So there are actually not synths, but there are, I guess, there were 5 or even 6 percussions layered on top of each other, and you hear also a bit of a delay. So yeah, these are actually the synths of the track. This is the third one. But yeah, we don't have actually that much time to explain how I made this, but it's mainly Serum stuff, as you see here in the topics of the tracks. Also, this one here is made in Serum, which comes from the side. So yeah, it's also pretty wild. But it's actually only Sawtooth wave from Serum. Pretty easy, chopped up with the LFO, with a pretty fast LFO. I guess it's 32. Let's see. Yes, it's 32 notes. So no, not even faster. It's 64 notes. So yeah, this is actually also pretty important stuff in trap music when we go to the rhythm type of thing. All the synths need to fit somehow together as a rhythm, like. Like, this is a pretty big important topic in trap music, that all the synths that you create are maybe as the same type or have the same grid, or yeah, maybe it's just my opinion, but you can actually use maybe a bell or stuff like that and put a horn below it. That's pretty uncommon in trap. You can do it because we are pretty creative people, and maybe you will make a huge track out of a bell and a horn. But yeah, it's more common to use synths which are actually, yeah, like I said, from the same type or from the same aggressiveness, especially only for the EDM trap type of thing. For hip-hop trap, which Daniel showed, I mean, you can use literally everything. He used the advertise guy from YouTube as an intro, so, I mean, you have completely freedom there. So, but for EDM trap, you actually need to have elements which are straightforward and have energy in it. And pretty much these synths, I guess, have a bit energy in them. So, real quick for the FX section in this track, yeah, I wanted to create pretty cool, like gluings from part A to part B, or from part B to part C, that all these elements like glue together real good. So that's only the risers. There's the FX section, stuff like this. So yeah, that it glues perfectly together, all in all. So yeah, this is actually the FX section from this part. Now we actually also had vocals in here. And as you see here, it's pretty also common, a common vocal chain. A little bit of EQing left and right. Nectar I used on here. And also a bit of EQing, boosting in the highs. That was actually, yeah, not that hard to do. Because the vocal actually was pretty fine, all in all. With the Pro Q, I throw out a bit of a noisy type of thing in the vocal. And all in all, the vocal is actually from a computer game and spoken by a dwarf. Like, you know, a dwarf from a game like...
Dawn never forgets, and neither do I.
So, yeah. A little bit of a chopping also in here, and now a bit left and right.
Death comes for you.
So yeah, this is actually a vocal like from a computer game, I would say. You can also get this on Splice. So yeah, it's from there. It's a royalty-free vocal. It's all good to use it there. So that was actually all the mixing what I did on the vocals, because the vocals were actually pretty good. I didn't do much on them. They fitted perfectly to the track and to the whole theme. I searched for the track because the whole theme, I would say, is a bit more of a battle type of thing with Vikings and like two hordes or stuff like that battle together. That is also a pretty big point, that you imagine have a theme in front of your eyes where you can create the track along. So that was actually the type for me, to use some Vikings or like heavy combat situation type of vocals and or synths. That was actually the main theme for this project. As you see in the topic here, it also has the name Hard Hitter. So yeah, that was actually the main theme for it. And real quick for the last part, my mastering stage here real quick. Mainly at the first stage I use a utility to turn the volume a bit down, that the drop hits a bit heavier. So I turned down the dBs like maybe 1 or 2 dB before the actual drop hits. You see here, then hits the drop, and as you guys see here, I did here minus 1.64 dB, that the build-up gets a little bit of volume, and when the first kick hits, then it makes like boom, that you have more like energy on the whole track, I would say. Sometimes I also do this on not mid-side, but on width. Then I created the automation with the width, where I put down the width a bit to get the elements a bit more mono and glued together in the middle, and then at the drop it opens up back. Then a sender. This is like only a plugin where you can boost the sides a bit, because the sides were actually, in my opinion, a bit too like low in volume. I boosted the sides only 2 dB. So yeah, that was actually it. It's only a pretty easy plugin from Waves. Then the next one is the Kramer Tape, because I like when sounds or tracks have this like older vintage tape type of sounds, I would say. And yeah, for that, in this track, I used the Kramer Tape to create this. Just play around with this. I really like the algorithm mastering crunchy, but I set back some stuff here, so it's not an original preset actually. And yeah, I played around with the delay time. The slap obviously is out, because you actually, if you put a slap delay on your master, you actually have the whole master as a stereo, so you need to put it out. But yeah, a bit flutter and a bit this record level here creates this tapey sound, I would say. So yeah, pretty, I would say, basic vintage stuff what you can do. The next one, Pro Q3, where I made all the frequencies below 100 Hertz in mono, that all these guys below there have a huge inner energy in mono. And yeah, as you guys also see here, that is the tape noise which the Kramer Tape creates. That is like the tapey noise from the Kramer Tape, like this one. I put it here on the section. Like this one you see here in the Pro Q. That is the noise what the Kramer Tape is actually creating for your track to make it more like tapey. I hear it if I listen really closely on my headphones, but I guess if it's through the YouTube algorithm and also the quality step back from YouTube, you wouldn't actually hear it, I guess. But from my perspective here on the headphones, you hear a bit of a noise. The next thing is actually a free VST plugin, which is called Luftikus. It's an emulation from the Moog, I guess, this MOOG4. Pretty cool thing in here is that you can actually boost at 40 hertz. So many of you maybe ask why 40 hertz. It's actually a pretty cool trick I can show you in the Pro Q3. If you boost your equalizer here back at the end like this, and imagine you do this at 40 hertz, and then you have like this curve here at your track. And if you change now the Q, you can say how much high end I want to have actually. So yeah, that's a pretty, I don't know if it's actually a secret tip, but yeah, most of the mastering engineers, even here at HOFA, use this trick sometime to get this like quality sounding type of element more in the track. Like most of the samples may be cut out at, I would say, 16 or 18 kilohertz, and with this type of EQ, you can bring this cool like pretty high frequency type of thing, bring it a little bit back, and it sounds like it's better recorded through huge microphones or expensive microphones even. So that's also a pretty cool equalizer trick, not track. And the next one is actually only limiters in the track. So let's go over the limiters real quick. Yeah, I see it. Let's go on the limiters real quick. Why I use two here. The two of them are actually the first one for tipping only the elements at the top to glue them a bit together. And the last limiter creates the loudness actually of the track, and it's actually, the track is actually pretty loud. So it's, I would say, minus 5.3 LUFS, which is pretty common but loud for EDM trap. And yeah, that was actually the mastering chain from the hard hitter track. And man, 1 hour is straight gone. So crazy how fast the time went today. So yeah, that was actually it for the YouTube part. The next part we are only actually exclusively doing in the in our online campus. So the next stream, which goes 2 hours from 4:30 to 6:30, you only see exclusively as a HOFA-College student. So yeah, go ahead and register if you want to know some more detailed stuff, what Daniel and I talk about in these tracks. And yeah, I wanted to firstly say thank you to Daniel once again for showing his stuff today. And
I'm very happy I could do that.
Yeah, it was pretty nice. And also to all the viewers out there, thank you for tuning in. Hope you learned something today. To all the students in the online campus, we see us soon in 30 minutes, I would say. And yeah, thank you for tuning in, and have a great Thursday evening, I would say. But yeah, we see us. Have a good one. Bye, guys.
Bye.